This morning, the photographer who exposed dozens of sets of remains at a funeral home in Marietta is facing trespassing charges. You might remember it's a British photographer who shared photos back in November from inside the abandoned Norman Medford Peden funeral home. Apparently, he never shared those photos with police or responded to their requests. Investigators say a concerned citizen shared the post, which then opened the investigation. Police issued a trespassing warrant for Ben Stevens. He was arrested during a traffic stop in Kentucky.